I think of one of the examples, though, or two examples that are probably near and dearest to me and that I will remember. Two things. One, and both involved Jack Welch. So Jack and I were having lunch with this guy named Fayez Sarafin. And for those of you in money management, you probably recognize that name. Fayez was one of the all-time great money managers in the country. And we were at Le Cirque in New York having lunch one day, and it was me, this stupid kid, and these two guys that were giants. And I always remember because I had to laugh because somehow they got stuck on the same side of the table, and these tables were really small New York restaurant tables. So it was me across from both these two guys. And they started to talk. And they started to talk about their kids going to college. And I expected Jack to pound the table and say, I want my kid to go to the best school and blah, 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 blah. And his comment, actually at the time to Fayez, because they both had kids going off to school just like we just took Meg to school, was he said, and he was a little more colorful than I will be tonight, but he said, I could care less where my kid goes to school. What I care about is that he comes back thinking that he owns the world. And he talked about people that he had gone to school with in Boston that had gone to MIT. He said they were a lot smarter than I was. And he went off to, I can't remember whether he went to Illinois or Michigan or someplace. But he said, I came back feeling like I own the world. These guys come back at Christmas and they're dragging their knuckles on the floor. But for him, it was first all about building confidence in his kids. The second thing that I remember about Jack is, there was something in Barron's that was written once that is pretty close to this, and I always said this is the only thing Barron's ever got right, is they described him as the most seductive, charismatic, cold-blooded CEO in the world. And Liz, true story, I mean, that is Jack Welch in a nutshell. But I was at EA, and I remember one of our studio leaders came in one day, and he was talking about managing. And he said, my job is I'm going to make every decision that my team makes better. My job is to make their decisions better. And I kind of looked at him and I go, you know what, dude, that is exactly wrong. And it was exactly the opposite of what Jack Welch did. Because what Jack Welch did and challenged every single person to do, and I felt this way every day that I went to work there and went to work with him, is he helped you to go dream and to do things you never ever thought you could. So it was challenging, yes, it made you think out of the box, but it was also just hugely motivational in terms of how he led. And there's one part fear and one part sheer exhilaration, and I don't know where the two met, but boy, the phone would ring, and whether it was at my house, whether it was at a hotel, or whether it was at the office, every time, it still does whenever I talked to him a few years ago, phone rings, one part fear and one part exhilaration, because you really wanted to go do great things, because he was simply that motivational. So it's all about passion, it's all about motivation, and I would argue the third thing is it's really all about helping people and those that you work with dare to dream and dare to do things that they never ever thought they could.